But very typical for them is that they stay on one spot and repeatedly they attack that spot. And you can almost see, the next one we'll see there. You can almost see where the teeth are, because when they go comb through the hairs of the algae, you see the trails of the teeth. So it's really, they clean that out, but the algae that's attached to the rock just stays there. And if a zebra type has less teeth, it needs to bite more frequently or faster just to collect enough material to live on. Also, members of Petrotilapia, they feed in exactly the same way, but they have a lot more teeth and they're much slower in scraping that off. There you can see here the tracks of the teeth. So that fur, that layer, a few millimeters thick layer of algae just stays there, and it's just cleaning it out. And that is typical for all these fish that belong to Metoclima, all the zebra types. And you will see that the other groups, they feed completely different. It's really nice to see that they all stick to those groups. The second group is the Trophiops, also about 40, 50 species, and they do something quite different. They attack the algae that's already cleaned by the zebra types. They grab the algae with their teeth, the upper and the lower teeth. They really grip at each other. They can grab the strands in their teeth, in their mouth, and then they shake the entire body to tear the strands of algae from the rocks. So it's quite different. And the zebra types and the Trophiops can live nicely next to each other because they feed from the same rock, but they both feed on two different components from the outflux. And when you see those Trophiops in the wild, it looks like they're just shaking their head, taking the algae off. But in slow motion you will see that the entire body is used to just to give some momentum to tear off the algae. So they prefer sites which are virtually clean of sediment, because then they can grab those that fur, the hairs on the rock and tear it off. And that's typical for all Trophiops species. And we are going to use this as a character. Any fish that feeds in this way is automatically a member of Trophiops. There is also other characters which are in the skull, which you don't have to go into, that corroborate this idea. Now, Labiotropheus, there's 2, maybe 3 species of Labiotropheus in the lake. They do a little bit different. They also grab the strands, but they don't need to shake their body to tear the strands off, because they have this nose. And they just hold the nose against the rock. And now when they extend the jaws, grab the algae, it's very easy now. When you have already one point of your body fixed on the rocks, it's very easy now to take the algae off. That's what they use the nose for. You see here the nose is against the rock. The mouth goes out, and it's very easy now to tear the algae off. So they're very efficient in doing so. And the mouth is very wide, because the wider, the more algae you can pull off at one time. And they are found usually in very shallow water, because they are strong enough because the shallower you go, the tighter the algae are anchored in the rocks. But they can easily pull those off. see the slow motion. See jaws go out, grab the algae, and more or less effortlessly you can pull that algae from the rocks. Then there's another group, a fourth group, which is a little bit more primitive. They don't have a way of collecting a lot of algae at the same time, or a means to tear off the algae, the good algae in the shallow water. They are more primitive. They just bite in the outflux, in the biocover, and they swim away, and whatever it's in the mouth, if it is a strand that breaks off or diatoms, whatever, that's what they feed. So they're much more inefficient compared to the other forms. So in order for them to get enough food, they are usually much more aggressive. They're usually small because they don't have a lot of food, because they are not very efficient in getting it, but because they are so aggressive, chasing all the other fish away from their area, they more or less grow enough food in their area to maintain. Very typical is that also the teeth of the upper and lower jaw fit nicely in each other, and also those teeth are almost on the outside. There's almost no lips on these fish, because that would keep the teeth away from the algae. So the deeper they can go into that algae mat, the better for them, the higher the chances they get some off. But this is a very typical profile of that group. It's quite a large number of cichlids, probably 50, 60 species in the lake that belong to this group. And a lot of them are elongatus types, but also the little aggressive ones, like pollet, or saulosi, or the masonite, they're all belonging to this group. You see that the teeth nicely fit and close the mouth. And you see also the feeding behavior is different. They just bite one spot, swim away, next spot, swim away. Swim away, next spot, swim away. So there's no repeated browsing. They just grab something and yank it off. So there was always a group of Mbuna in Pseudotropheus that we always wanted to put separate, the so-called elongatus group, because they're all elongate fish and they all look alike. There's about 35 species that are all elongate, and they're spread all over the lake. But if you look at these fish, how they feed, we can easily put them in those three groups of the shakers and of the pullers and of the compers, the rakers. And those are the four feeding modes, more or less, that you find in all the Mbuna in the lake. So the most primitive one, I would say, are the ones that just pick at the substrate, and whatever is between the teeth, that's what they can feed on. But they don't have an extra mechanism to collect more algae or better quality algae than the others. Then there's a group, the zebra group. They comb, they rake the loose material. Then there's only one genus, Atrophiops. They grab the algae and shake it with the body off. And the Labiotrophes, they use the nose as a kind of fulcrum to